Okay, now we're moving on to the intuition dominant types, and first we're going to start with the extroverted intuitives. And with an extroverted intuitive, intuition is oriented towards the object in the dominant position. For these people, everything they talk about is subordinated to their objective intuition. What you're looking out for when you're typing someone that's an extroverted intuitive is you're looking for someone, when you're talking to a group of people, they're going to be the person that's most confident that their presentation of others' speculation is the most significant in the group. So it's not just that they're speculating, it's that they're very confident about their presentation of someone else's idea or speculation. And say you present your own speculation or somebody brings up their own speculation, they're very likely to go against it. So we can say that they're very likely to go against other subjective intuition that doesn't agree with what they see as open mindedness. So let's say you're meeting somebody for the first time. You don't know them very well, or they're an acquaintance. And they seem to be speaking to you very confidently about very speculative topics or something that just has no application or no relation to the here and now or what you're actually doing, you're probably talking to somebody that's an extroverted intuitive. So they'll bring up something that's speculative and present it as if it were objective. And if you present your own subjective viewpoint on the topic, they'll suggest that you could be a little bit more open minded. So in other words, let's say you had an extroverted intuitive and an introverted intuitive in the room together and they're talking about speculative topics, let's say religion. Let's say the extroverted intuitive person is Islamic and the introverted intuitive person is Catholic. It's to the point that a dominant extroverted intuitive person might try to tell somebody of a different religion, like let's say the guy's Islamic, he might try to tell the Catholic what an ideal Catholic is, whereas the introverted intuitive person is going to be like, no, I can, this is, my viewpoint, I can think of this for myself, I know what it's like to be a Catholic. The extroverted intuitive might give some pushback. And keep in mind here, this would be like confidently telling someone else about their religion when you're not that religion.
Capitalism is more an ethical religious category for me. It's not true when people attack capitalists as egotists, they don't care for. No, an ideal capitalist is someone who is ready again to stake his life, to risk everything just so that production grows, profit grows, capital circulates. His personal or her happiness is totally subordinated to this. This is what I think Walter Benjamin, the great Frankfurt School companion thinker, had in mind when he said capitalism is a form of religion. You cannot account for a figure of a passionate capitalist obsessed with expanded circulation, with the rise of his company in terms of personal happiness. I am, of course, fundamentally anti-capitalist, but let's not have any illusions here. What shocks me is that most of the critics of today's capitalism.
Now we're talking about the introverted intuitive people. The introverted intuitive people, in the dominant position, they have intuition oriented towards the subject. And for them, everything is subordinated to their own subjective intuitions. And you can identify these people, or something that will help you identify these people is that in a social situation, they'll be the type that's most confident that their presentation of their own speculation is the most significant. By contrast to the extroverted intuitive, where they're presenting someone else's speculation and they're very confident about that, the introverted intuitive is the most confident about their presentation or their articulation of their own speculation or their own intuitions. These people are likely to go against external intuitions that come from other people and don't agree with what they see as their own deep contemplation. So just like the FI dominant people are the natural challengers for FE dominant people in terms of feeling, in terms of intuition, the NI dominant people are the natural challengers for the extroverted intuitives. So it's very uncommon for these people to have, say, group philosophical affiliations because other people will present their view of some subject, and the natural inclination for an introverted intuitive person is to go against that and say, no, I have my own view. And this naturally makes the extroverted intuitive people seem more social or even actually be more social than the introverted intuitives, because the introverted intuitives aren't so interested in seeking out someone else's viewpoint. And to be clear, it's not like these people are completely in echo chambers. Like, they're aware of what the extroverted intuitive sees too. So the extroverted intuitive person likes presenting other people's viewpoints, and so likes to actually become acquainted with other people's viewpoints. The introverted intuitive people may be acquainted with other people's viewpoints, but they don't seek so much to present or articulate other people's viewpoints. They like articulated their own. So they might seek out other people's viewpoints or what other people are ruminating about. They might seek that out in order to include it in their own speculation or their own viewpoint, but they're not going to present it as if it were someone else's. Or, in other words, they're not going to try to speak for someone else. They want to speak for themselves.
Then people complain that politics is too bland, that politics is too samey, politics is too boring. If you ask, say, a Ross Perot supporter, wake him up if you have to. No, don't. Just stop him or her on the street and say, don't you think that parties in America spend much too much time bickering among themselves rather than getting on with the nation's business? There's too much partisanship. The person will say yes. I'll guarantee that he will. Leave a few more questions in between so the trick isn't too obvious, and then ask him, don't you think the two major parties are much too much alike? He will infallibly reply yes to that too. And in fact, it's very unclear very often why, when you have movements that say they want a third party, it's very unclear to many people why they always fail. One reason why they always fail is we don't yet have two parties. So third party movements, I think, will fail by definition.